apologies if I sound tired and if the audio on this video does not sound the best. However, I've come bearing excuses. As you see, in a new location, gotta get the setup all the way figured up, and I've been moving alone all weekend, so your mans is tired. However, there ain't no rest for the wicked. Yoshifumi dropped 127, so we're gonna cover 127. And interestingly enough, a lot of our predictions were correct, and I'm gonna go into that during this video. However, let's get into it. 127 of Undead Unluck. So two main situations occurred during this chapter. The conversation between Luna and Fuuko beginning, along with the beginning of the bout against Sun, or God, or as you may hear me calling him, Amaterasu, just because I like to give fools nicknames. However, as I'd mentioned, a lot of the topics we discussed in the previous two videos actually came into fruition during this chapter, and a lot of that occurred during the conversation between Fuuko and Luna. So I feel like covering this conversation in its whole makes a bit more sense before we jump into what actually happened with God. So right out the gate, two of our main theories / questions were answered and kind of confirmed. Yes, there are multiple gods, and yes, Luna herself is also a god. Fuuko finally asked her the question that we've all been wondering throughout the series. Who exactly is Luna? To which she actually replied, I myself am God. My name is Luna. I'm the other god that created this world. And this was crazy for me. As we've been mentioning, potentially there are multiple gods in this world. Obviously, Luna had some sort of deific power, which kind of highlighted the fact that she was of high importance, even being called the Exalted One by the Apocalypse book just kind of hammered home this fact that she had to be somebody who was closer to gods than we had previously thought. And right here is confirmed that 100% she is a god. And she says, I am God, which got me really interested because we've been thinking, are there multiple gods? And I was thinking maybe even 3 gods. However, could the third god potentially be that amalgamation of the sun and moon? Because as they speak throughout this chapter, the verbiage continuously sounds like, I am God, the entity. They keep saying they, there's no pronouns attached to them, even though Luna presumably looks like a female and Sun presumably looks like a male. I wonder if the amalgamation of these two creates the number one entity, that high entity, the number one god, I guess to say. And they potentially at some point split paths, and that's kind of why they're fighting off against each other in this war. And maybe the ego and the feelings, I don't freaking know, y'all. It's just very interesting as we continuously get more information about this god fella. But Fuuko's obviously a bit confused. This is a big truth bomb getting dropped on her, and although she asks a couple questions, the one that Jules fields is, so that other person up there is yes. That is the other god, Amaterasu, the sun god. The god whom birthed Umas, determined the rules, and created everything in this world. They are also God. And once again, the verbiage used is very interesting. Created everything in this world, birthed Umas, and created the rules which are in the world. So we already know Umas. Umas by definition are embodiments of the rules within the world. Negators, on the other hand, are the exact opposite. Entities which negate the rules within the world. So by her definition, even though she did say creates everything, which could encompass negators, we don't know who creates negators still. So it truly could be this theory, and I'll leave it up on screen right now, that potentially Luna has negators as her chess piece. The sun god has Umas, has his chess pieces. And as mentioned at the end of this chapter, they are fighting off against each other, or they're at odds in some way, shape, or form. They're playing a game against each other in order to make sure their vision of the world comes into fruition. So it's really interesting just seeing how all these thoughts were correct. Luna and the sun are two godly entities. They are warring off or fighting off against each other for some reason, and it's to see that their vision of the world come true. And it's cool. You already know that Jules is trying to get her vision of justice. Apparently Luna's trying to get her vision of Earth, I guess to say, to come true, but I have no idea right here. One interesting thing that I kind of noted during this chapter is Luna is always smiling. Obviously, she's a god. Maybe that's just her appearance and shit. However, it's weird how we haven't seen the sun talk yet. However, we've seen Luna talk. She's beginning to enlighten us into, the lore behind her and Amaterasu. And she's always just got this kind of devilish smirk on her face. And she says at the end of this chapter something kind of crazy to me. This is a game between them and myself, the sun and the moon, to see whose vision the world will shape itself into. And saying this with a smile on your face is kind of odd. I know I've said throughout this series that potentially Luna is somebody who's fighting on the side of the humans. However, I'm not 100% sure right here. Saying that putting the lives of human beings and the sake, the safety of humanity all at the ledge of something, kind of just trying to push it off all for fun shits and giggles, doesn't make too much sense to me. It doesn't really make sense why, even if you care for humans, even if you want them to be safe and you want them to, come out on top, why you would do this. And it really makes me think, did they split up? Are sun and the moon two entities that are one and the same, who kind of want the same thing, and it's just to have fun in some way, shape, or form? Does Luna have some ulterior motives? The fact that the sun hasn't spoken yet is interesting to me, just because we don't know if he's kind of a good guy, if he's kind of just being controlled even. Luna just makes all this kind of shit happen, knowing that this is the more destructive, stronger half of God, and I'm just the intellect of God. I have no idea, dog. A lot of random thoughts are going through my head, but we don't need to theorize too hard because we're not even there yet. What we got to see a lot of this chapter was God acting up. Amaterasu, we learned that he is easily the strongest entity we've seen this entire series. As we begun the chapter, the sun looms over an entire city, belittling the entire thing in comparison to God's gigantic size. And as Amaterasu fully rises, Andy questions what we're all wondering. What is this? What are we supposed to do about this? But seriously, what are we going to do about this? Because Amaterasu, the sun god, stomps down on the earth, and it was not stomping. Bro was just standing up, getting out of that hole which it had come out of last chapter. And this one step onto the earth's surface sent shockwaves throughout the entire thing. This is a power that we have not even thought about seeing with an Undead Unluck yet. Something that truly is just off the radar. Over 9,000! Just some crazy ass stuff. And this development right here is really scary, because like Luna said, oh, that was not an attack. He hasn't begun fighting yet. That was just him standing up. And as we do see at least two maybe, if you want to count the second one, moves from God come out this chapter, we just know that this is a hard-boiled, brawling mother trucker, and I am excited to see how the hell we could potentially fight this dude off. And as Amaterasu stands there, just kind of peering down, exuding his gigantic presence over all who are witnessing it, it catches a glimpse of Andy and Jules. And during the same scene, we see a bunch of Umas flying around him. And outside of Uma Byrne, who we can obviously see, I'm not sure as to whether or not these Umas are actually fighting with us or against us. I think I see Seal within here as well. However, I'm not really sure what Umas are here right now. There's some kaiju flying wyvern looking ones. And it just looks like, Amaterasu, the creator of Umas, has not come down here empty-handed. This godfella is about smoke on sight. Even without saying a word yet, this dude saw the duo and said, all right, it's time to stomp on you fools. And as Andy and Jules prepare to brave this gigantic force, which honestly, they were dead. They were screwed off. We get one of the most interesting developments yet. Shakara rides up on his little ball. Shout out my guy Nico. We miss you, Mr. Vorgel. And he does something so god darn crazy. He touches God. Shakara uses Unmove and actually stopped God's foot in its tracks, allowing Andy and Jules to survive this little stomp and allow them to get out of the way. But Amaterasu, even though he can be touched by the negators, is just as interesting of a figure. we know throughout the series that Andy's been saying it, Billy understands it, everybody knows that to beat a negator, you have to understand their ability to the best you can, the best capacity. And an ability such as Shakara's Unmove usually isn't figured out like this. It usually takes a second for an individual to be like, okay, so it's the field of vision. It's whatever this individual can see is what he can actually stop. So something like my back doesn't actually get screwed over by, Unmove's ability if you can't see it. But God, Amaterasu, immediately knew. As soon as Shakara placed that Unmove on him, he shoots off a little back beam. And this back beam comes flying around, and God darn it, we are losing negators like flies right now, brother. It is getting scary. We are in dire times. Haven't said that in a while. We are in dire times in Undead Unluck because God, Andy was right. What are we supposed to do? To end the chapter, just like me, just like you, Andy and Jules are sitting there just disgruntled and anguished, thinking about what the hell's about to happen in chapter 128, because I don't know right now. The chapter ends off with him stomping and just sending another shockwave throughout the entire earth. And dude, this is just a power we haven't seen in Undead Unluck. There's obviously very strong individuals within here, but godly ones? No. We've seen Spring. Spring is a mean ting. Definitely had some reality shifting powers, which definitely could, just ball out, destroy anything it really wants to. However, just this power to send seismic waves throughout the earth. This power to send off freaking pellets of magma or whatever the heck is sent off of itself to take off Shakara's arm. Even the intellect that it must have to immediately assess the situation, understand Shakara's ability, say, all right, if you want to freeze my front, let me shoot off the back. What? We are actually in dire times right now, and I'm scared like shit. I really am excited to see what Luna tells us, because like I said, y'all, I wonder how in tandem with us and our goal Luna is. I wonder if endgame of Undead Unluck is not just going to be fighting the sun god, however, fighting God, Kami. Because like I said, the verbiage throughout this chapter really sounded like there's one entity. Luna looks at the sun god as herself, as one of the same. And I don't know, bro. I'm tired. I'm out here trying to think and theorize whenever I just need to go close my eyes. However, let me edit this shit. More videos to come this week. I want to get out a better worded video on this chapter, just because, like I said, I'm a busy man right now. However, appreciate y'all. Hope you have a great day. Hope you had a great weekend. Yoshifumi, shout out you. I think you knew I was moving this weekend, so you gave me an extra day. Hey, my guy. Hasta luego.